So for you, when you think about it, this business was really kind of founded on these relationships with realtors. Now we have a proprietary system in how we reach out and connect to and help serve the realtor community. Talk a little bit about the pride that you get when you see not only do we get to help a customer, but we also get to help a realtor.
Well, it actually ends up helping two realtors most of the time because you have a buyer and seller's agent. But, it's cool because the system that we have set up, I think most roofing companies traditionally have just been like, hey, if you need a roof replacement, give me a call. Or, hey, if you need a roof repair, give me a call. And it's been more of the reactionist side of things. And we've kind of got in more on the preventatory side and positive side of things. For example, you have two options. You have a seller's agent and then you have the buyer's agent, right? So with seller's agents, we do completely free pre-listing inspections, and they have absolutely changed the game for the realtors that work with it.
It's been a huge value add.
Huge value add, and I'll explain why. But the biggest thing about that is the realtor developing the habit to do it, because right now it is just normal for them to go through, do it the normal way, hit the inspection, and then find out what the problems are. But if they do a pre-listing inspection, which is literally getting set up with the PM here and shooting a text message, it takes 10 seconds. You just have to build the habit of doing it. But by doing that, we get to find out if there's any damage to the property. And right now in Indiana, just in one storm last year, in central Indiana, over 700,000 homes were hit. There's been 3 storms for the last 3 years.
Right.
So almost everything has some sort of damage somewhere, unless it's a brand new roof, right? And I'm not just talking about roof. Like, we do roof, siding, gutters, paint, like literally everything that's storm restoration. So if a property that you're listing has any of these issues, then we can go file an insurance claim or deal with it beforehand. And most of the time when you're filing an insurance claim, a new roof, new gutters, new paint job, because there's chipped paint, things like that, all of that stuff, you're going to retain a certain amount of value once that's done. So if somebody has a $500 deductible or $1,000 deductible, and they have a $150,000 home, and then you get new roof, new siding, new gutters, new paint, whatever it is on there, you're going to retain about 75% of the cost of that. So if that's a $40,000, $50,000 claim, which happens pretty easily when you have multiple trades, you're probably going to add about $25,000, $30,000, $35,000 onto the sale price. So by spending $500 or $1,000 deductible, they're getting to tack on, let's just call it $25,000. That's a pretty good ROI, right?
Oh, it's fantastic.
And then you get to list it as, new roof, new gutters, like all of this extra stuff to grab the attention. It's going to matter more and more now. Like the last 2 years was a little crazy because all of the listings and everything like that, like, we're just going nuts, selling for $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 over with. They didn't care how it was like you could have a dead animal in the middle of the house and they're like, it's fine, just leave it. Now, as the market's shifting slightly, it's shifting. Yeah, it's starting to shift slightly. Interest rates are going up. You're seeing listings on longer. You're seeing price reductions, which you haven't seen in a while. So now as that does it, this is going to be more and more important to have these advantages under you. But the other thing is, if you don't do that beforehand, right? And this is where it kicks into the buyer's side, right? So if you're on the seller side and you don't do that beforehand, you agree to a price, right? And then you go in and you have the inspection done. So let's say you say, hey, we agree on $150,000. You go and you have the inspection done. Almost every time the inspectors have a licensed roofer go out and check out the roof, because either they don't want to get on it or they don't know enough about them. Almost every time they have it done. So if we check out and do a pre-listing inspection and there's no damage, you get a full photo report, you get a written document that says there's no damage, and a quick overview of the roof. So you can go, actually, Mr. Inspector, I've already done that. Here you go. Here's the photos in the report.
Right.
So you're covered. But if there is damage and you haven't done anything about it, now your seller has to go back and file a claim and deal with these things. And they're going to file a claim. They're going to spend $500 or $1,000 on their deductible, so it's going to cost them money. Then we do all of this stuff. It could slow down the closing if it's like an FHA or a VA loan. Like a lot of the times that stuff has to be done before closing. They won't even let you close, like even if it's approved and contracts in place. The other loans, conventional things, like normally as long as you have a contract in place and different things, we can get them pushed through. But no matter what happens, the buyer is getting the equity. So now that $25,000 for all of that new stuff goes to the buyer, right? So it cost them $500 or $1,000 for a deductible, and the buyer gets all of the, the increase in property value. So they're losing out by simply not doing it beforehand. As a realtor, if you do that for your customer, and then you go, hey, this was going to be $150. Now we get to list it for $180. One, your commission's going to go up as a realtor. Not a ton, but that's nice. An extra,
up is always better than down.
2.5%, 3% for your side on, $30,000. Like, I'll take it. But that seller is going to be stoked that you just got them an extra 20 or 30 grand for their property. So that is the reason that pre-listing inspections are so important, because you'll either get the information saying there's no damage, all the documentation to cover that inspection when it happens, and it will happen, or there is damage and you get it all done beforehand, list it appropriately, and get your sellers that price and a little bump in commission.
Yeah. And if you're in the home buying and selling business, you know that a roof is one of, if not the most called out things that's going to hold up a closing.
For sure.
Number one. As a matter of fact, there was a customer that we were working with. Unfortunately, we weren't in partnership with the realtor at that time. We subsequently are now.
Right.
But literally just last week, where they went to closing, definitely damage to the roof. Roof needed to be replaced. Buyer ended up walking and going in to another like value home that already had a roof.
They didn't have to deal with the problems.
Didn't have to deal with it and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yep.
Of course, we see that from our side. I'm not going to say that every deal is going to turn out that way, but you can ward against that by doing and taking part of these pre-listing inspections.
No, absolutely. So the other side of it is you got the buyer's side. So we've talked a lot about the seller side, but the buyer's side, I'll tell you, the realtors that we work with and do this, it's great, but it's maybe 4 or 5% of the realtor world. I mean, there's thousands of realtors. So the ones that are doing it are really kind of stepping up their game.
Right.
So the buyer side has us come out and do inspections. Once they've agreed on a price and they're here, they come out and go, hey, Aaron, check the property, or hey, whoever the PM they're working is, check out the property. We go out, we do that, and we're extremely thorough. Like, you pay attention if you're on the buyer side or the seller side, because like the seller doesn't want to deal with anything unless they have to, or it's going to be blatantly obvious. But on the buyer side, like, you want to make sure that you're covered, like you've picked everything apart and you know exactly what's there, right?
Right.
So we'll go throughout and pick everything apart and say, hey, look, there, even if it's light, like there is some hail damage, there's this and that, and then you can try to push the seller into filing a claim. And just like we talked about on the other side, we get new roof, new siding, new gutters. Now you're buying this house and you instantly have $25,000, $30,000 of equity. So you're covered either way by just having us look at the property and making it a formed habit. And it's literally a text message, and it's free, and it gets you information, it gets you photo reports, it gets you documentation. There is zero downside to sending a couple-minute text to one of our PMs to come out and follow the process that we've set up for realtors. 100%.
And I think the last thing that we can point out on this is, as you've mentioned multiple times, we're not necessarily siding with one or the other or trying to act like there's things when there aren't things.
Correct.
Again, we do the full photo report that is handed over. It's not in our best interest to stretch a truth or anything along those lines. No. We are going to give an honest, accurate assessment with a photo report.
Right.
That's evident of everything and every component of that roof, which is a huge aspect of this.
Because even on the buying side, if the buyer calls us out or the buyer's realtor calls us out, the seller's still going to be our client because we're going to be running a claim for them as well as the buyer. Now, the buyer, they may say, hey, buyer can pick colors and, do all of that stuff, but we got to work with both sides. But as you said, we have the photo report, so we give those photos showing everything that we see. And sometimes the damage is going to be like, damn, like that's messed up. And sometimes it's going to be like, it's pretty light, but it's there and it can cause issues. Like, what do you guys want to do? Here's the information. Make an educated decision on what's best for you guys.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just a flat out clean bill of health. Hey, everything looks great.
All the time. Yeah, all the time. So, but I'd say over half the time there is something there that you at least want to discuss. You know what I mean? You don't want to find out a year later that your roof's just absolutely toast because the inspector skipped it. Once you have like hail hits and things, like it doesn't leak immediately. It exposes the tar on shingles, which cuts the life in half of a roof because that tar will start to dry out, granules will start to fall off, and it absolutely will diminish the life of the roof. So there are reasons to do it, even though you go, hey, well, it's just a couple dings. Yeah, it's going to make a difference down the road, though.
Yeah. So what do you recommend Realtor does to help prevent against all this and to take advantage?
Oh, we going to do a plug?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We actually have directly on our website a scheduler page for realtors, indieroofcompany.com, and then go on there and find the realtor. Durango, just pop it in right here when we go through this. But you can go there and schedule a time for a PM to call you. We can come do a lunch and learn at your location. We actually have a corporate Topgolf account that we host realtors at all the time. So if you want to do something different and cool for your team, we can have up to 8 people in our bay where we talk for 5 or 10 minutes and just kind of cover some of this. And then you guys can play golf and have a good time and have a good meeting up there, talk about whatever you guys have to talk about. So you can either schedule a lunch and learn or a call or a Topgolf event with one of our PMs by going to the scheduler on the website, or you can just give us a call directly here, insert number, and ask to talk to somebody. So
we want to partner with you. We want to partner with your client to make sure that everything goes smooth for your closing, whether you are a buyer or seller's agent.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys.